Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, Season 2. Today's episode is being partnered along with Perpetual Buzz Experiences, which is an artist representation company with three very basic but lofty goals. They are the launchpad for a lot of indie musicians, helping them leverage success in the best possible manner. And they also help generate funding for social causes. Be sure to check them out on www.perpetualbuzz.com. Speaking of my guest today, he's from the world of percussion. He's been hailed as the greatest living drummer by fans, peers, and people from the international music community. His contributions to iconic musical pieces and in the field of music education has been tremendous. He started drums at the age of 8, playing alongside records in a spare room. During his high school years, he's received so many awards from the National Association of Jazz Educators. After he moved to the East Coast in 1979, he started receiving many accolades from legends such as Steve Khan, Michael Brecker, and a lot of other musicians for his musical contributions. He was part of the Simon Garfunkel reunion tour in '83 and was eventually noticed in the larger mainstream industry. He's arranged music for motion pictures, he's played with Diana Ross, George Benson, and many more. 1985 was when he took this decision of playing with the Chick Corea Electric Band, which was the beginning of a very enduring 7-year relationship. He's been inducted into the Modern Drummer Hall of Fame, and this gentleman has been in India on multiple occasions and has played with artists like Mohini De. He was invited to Nama Uru by Sandeep Chauta a couple of years back. And guess what? I discovered from a friend that he had a very hearty meal at Naga Arjuna. It just can't get any better than this. Without any further ado, I'm delighted to welcome my guest for today, Dave Weckl.
Hey, this is Dave Weckl, and you are listening to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
Hi, Dave. Namaste. How are you? Which part of the world are you in right now?
I'm fine, Aditya. Let me get back to my screen here. I'm good. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, in my home studio here. My new studio finally got it together, so that's where I'm at. It's a little bit chilly today, but it's nice back in my hometown. Yeah. How are you?
Very well. I am in the southern part of India, in a little town called Coimbatore, and yeah.
Where is that? Is that where is that in the geography? Is it east, west, central, south? Because my wife and I were there a few years ago, and we really enjoyed ourselves. So
right. So it's probably like a 4-5 hour drive from Bangalore. I believe you were in Bangalore, right?
Yeah. So we were in Chennai. Chennai. Is that correct?
Yeah, Chennai. Yeah.
Chennai and Bangalore, and then we went all the way west to a little island out there off the
Marvelous.
coast. So yeah, it was great. Yeah, my wife, we love it there. We want to go back for vacation. So yeah.
Wonderful. Great. So let's get started with our agenda for today. And I have a couple of very interesting questions coming your way.
Uh-oh. Yeah, this is I have no idea what you're going to ask. So let's see. Okay. We're ready.
Yeah.
Go.
Let's do it on the fly.
Okay.
You got into music at a very early age, and I'm sure it must have been a very early sensibility. You learned a lot from your dad, who was a pianist, your mom was a singer. And after a certain point, you did learn music formally from Bob and Joe, who taught you music back in the day. So, how did the environment initially receive you when you started out in this musical pursuit?
Well, growing up here in the Midwest, just to clarify, my father was, a pianist by hobby.
Okay.
He had wanted to be a performer when he was young, but it didn't quite work out. and my mother would sing around the house. She wasn't a pro or anything. So, but yes, I was an only child, and there was always music. They had, always. My mother loved singers, so there was, all kinds of great singers and great music. Tony Bennett and different vocalists. And my dad was really into jazz and ragtime. So I was exposed very early to a lot of different music, and of course, me being a kid, I was into pop and rock and stuff like that. So I had a
Mhm.
pretty early, experience being exposed to a lot of different styles, and yeah, I started. Um, I don't know how or why, but I started beating on box lids, and my parents. My mother didn't want me beating up her pan lids anymore, and my father saw the interest, so they bought me a small little kit and put it in my dad's little bedroom
Okay.
workroom. And yeah, then it was back then. There was no internet. The only distractions were a little bit of TV, sports over here, and then everybody was doing music. I mean, it was just a
Yeah.
lot of music going on. So I I had I guess I had a natural ability to pick it up quickly and easily and copy records, and especially rock stuff. I mean, of course, the jazz stuff took a while, but from an early age, to answer your question, I mean, I was received well in school, and with my peers, we taught each other, we played together, we grew up, just trying to play as much as we could and listen and study, and that's kind of, I used to be into sports a lot when I was young, and I had to make a decision when I was like, I don't know, I think by the time I was 13, 14, I had stopped all organized sports as a kid, and just transitioned all my time, extra time, into playing the drums and music. So, and then the school programs were really really good here, and especially in the Midwest. I mean, they just marching band and band programs, and they actually had jazz bands and jazz band competitions, and
Hmm.
um, I auditioned for the high school jazz band before I got in high school, and I got the gig. So I was, that was inspiration and learning. And when you talk about Bob and Joe, that's Bob Matheny and Joe Berger. And Bob was the one that helped me sort of get ready for the audition. We went through Roy Burns' Big Bad and Beautiful,
Oh, okay.
which was kind of cool. Uh, playing to that those charts, and that big band kind of got my reading uh, as together as one could for a 13, 14-year-old. And and yeah, I got the gig, and then got into the high school jazz band, and started. That just kind of became the most important thing for us to do, and we were rehearsing all the time. We were playing, we were traveling, interstate, and doing competitions, and even made a couple of records uh, back
Incredible.
in back in those days. Yeah. So and then it's I guess word got around town that I could play, and I got a gig with a gentleman by the name of Joe Bosey here in town.
Hmm.
Great trumpet player who he had a 6 night a week gig, and
Wow.
I auditioned and I got the gig, and we played. I was going to high school during the day and playing at night. My last couple of years of high school,
Hmm.
and I think to this day that was still one of my toughest schedules. Was to pull off going to school and working until 1 in the morning. So, but yeah, it was well received, and like I said, we Tom Kennedy is from here,
Okay.
whom I met at the Stan Kenton clinics, band camps, and through Tom, I met Jay Oliver,
Yeah.
and Jay and I were just hanging out last night. That's kind of the cool thing about being back here in St. Louis. We both happen to be here right now, so
Oh, lovely.
we spend a lot of time hanging out, and he helped me design my studio here, but we spent a lot of time as kids in our teens, playing together and gigging and yeah, very very inspirational time. Very 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 profound time as far as nurturing goes and studying and practicing.
Marvelous. From whatever you've said so far, from what I can gauge, you seem to be one of the kinds. I don't know if it would be right to say that you are someone who has very high intellect, and you that sort of provocated you to be involved in a lot of music academia. So, would you like to throw some light on that?
It's interesting you bring up that word. Jay and I were just talking about it last night. We were talking about how important or not the intellectual value, not from being a smart genius guy, person,
Yeah,
but to have the intellectual ability to that your awareness level is able to listen, hear, copy, and take it somewhere else. From everything to rhythmic precision, understanding the math of music, where the rhythmic precision is concerned, as far as the notes and values and how it all works. Rhythm according to a pulse, which is, I mean, obviously, as you know, it's a little bit different in the Western culture than it is in India from how
correct.
that's all done. But but in our culture, and it's I experience a lot with students that, and Jay, we were talking about this last night. It's like, well, it's like this. Don't you get it? And some people are just like, huh? No, I don't get it. And others are like, yeah, no, yeah, I get it, no problem. So I think it's a big part of it, and I don't know how to study that. I don't know if it's part of the natural, gifted ability to be in that position to understand things and grasp them quickly and then be able to um, organize yourself and your time to practice it, to study and to keep growing. Um, we were talking about that too. I mean, we're in our early 60s now, and we're still growing, we're still learning, we're still
Sure.
practicing. So it never stops, and the ideas are always there. The vision is always there of the music, of what something can be when we're talking about creating or composing or whatever. And yeah, I think that the intellectual aspect it's a big part of it. And again, it's not
Correct.
being a genius of any kind. It's not about being a math wizard, because I was terrible at math. It's like I was really bad at it in school. But when it applies to the musical aspect and the how it applies to the notes, and that turning that into the rhythm and the precision of the rhythm. Uh, I I don't know. Through all my listening and studying of the greats, uh, I combined with understanding the theory of it. It became a big part of the learning process.
Got it. Uh, you've also been equally involved as a music educator, apart from being a performer, being a composer. Right. So I'm sure that you know, or you have an idea as to what could be the perfect definition of a good music education program.
Hmm. Well, being a teacher is difficult. It's a big commitment, because you have to analyze and understand what it is that you do as the teacher. And most people don't, especially artists. In a sense, they don't want to know. I mean, I never wanted to know.
Mhm.
When I started I mean, I've always done clinics and a few private lessons here and there, but I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I started my online school. And when I was preparing a lot of the initial courses,
Mhm.
everything that I did, I realized that I had to first analyze what it was and kind of tear it apart, tear it down, and make sure that I understood what it was that I was doing so that I could actually talk about it and teach it. Because it kind of goes back to that thing of like, well, it's like this. Don't you get it? And sometimes, yes, for some people, but a lot of the times we forget that, many tens of thousands of hours have gone into this, in the 50 some odd years that I've been playing anyway. And we tend to forget how much, the journey, like how much study and how much time has been put in. So, so coming around to now and the present of being, a teacher in my own school um, with what we have on the website, which is daveweckl.com, by the way. It's on a teachable platform is how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I'm still a performer
Uh-huh.
more than I am a teacher at this point. So I'm still, by choice, super busy doing, either recordings for other people, myself. That was the whole real point of kind of moving back here and having a studio big enough to really do some creative stuff, to get back into the creative realm of making records and producing projects, doing a lot of mixing, sitting on the other side of the console, in the control room. So as far as like understanding or saying what is the perfect, teaching program, or, not really. That's not how my school is structured. It's not like a curriculum course that you have to go from point A to point B and you can't go to B before you complete A. It's not like that.
Okay.
My school is, we just keep flooding the school with material, and that is a lot of material. It goes from everything of the basics of setup, technical aspects, according to how I do it, what I've been taught from all my great teachers over the years. And we have guest interviews. We have guest people come in. There's live performance footage that's only available on the school. There's a lot of things, and there's also a private platform via Facebook. We have our own forum that students are invited to participate. It's kind of a way that I am able to interact, critique videos, comment, and it's a nice community because people are always in there, throwing ideas around. So, but the way that we have it structured is sort of everybody take it at their own pace and study what they want. There's a recording and a mixing course. There's live, using the live mixer. There's all kinds of stuff in there. And some of the times people will ask questions on the forum, and I'm like, well, did you study the course?
Yeah.
No, well, go study the course. So when I have the ability to interact like that, it makes this kind of platform work because I can direct them to go do it. It's so I'm not sure what the perfect, or best format is. When we were deciding to do this, we didn't know whether we were going to do an app or how we were going to do it. But I decided to do it this way, a platform that I could just upload stuff. I could add to it as the time went on. So that's how we do it. That's how I do it with the structure of my school. Ideally, I don't think anything replaces a hands-on approach. I mean, because I do a lot of private teaching as well.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but I mean, I do some. People either come here sometimes or I go to their place, and I do a lot online, one-on-one, which is also an available service that I have on my website. But it's the bottom line is, and I think what a lot of younger players don't get today is being able to play a lot with other people. It's all good and fine playing to tracks, and I mean it's these days it's 95% of what I do as well when I record with or for somebody, even my own stuff a lot of the times. Um, since I moved back here, that's changed a little bit. I've put together, with some help from some local guys here, Dave Dickey and Kevin Janino, we put together a big band. So I have my own big band now in town, and we did a live performance and recorded that. So I'm working to put that together for a production. I have another small group here that's kind of just a groove group. Both of my groups are called Contingent. It's the St. Louis Big Band Contingent and the St. Louis Groove Contingent. So that's another project that we're, when I'm home, I can play and work with these guys. I'm still doing a lot of touring too. So my band that I have with Tom Kennedy, we just finished doing his new record, and we're in the mastering stage now. So that's going to be coming out in a couple months, maybe less. So yeah, I mean, ideally, I would love to have a program and a platform, to be in a brick and mortar building and have people be able to play in ensembles, to learn how to play together. That's really, I think, what's missing. And unless you go to a place like Berkeley, and I know that there's still a lot of activity going on there, for example, and in different schools, have that going on. But from a perspective of just being, a drummer at this point with a drum school, the way we're doing it, and for people that are interested to know how I do it and what I think about, again, presenting my ideas based on everything I've been taught. I think we have a pretty good platform going on.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's talk about the aspect of knowledge, right? So, don't you think that perhaps there's this mistaken emphasis on knowledge per se in the narrow sense and not in terms of the wisdom sense? We're just looking at knowledge as an accumulation of facts, right? But knowledge has more to do with training of the mind so that it can continue to apply itself in terms of unfolding one's career. You did mention that you also have an online music education program, I'm sure, which is virtual, right? Don't you think
Yeah.
that it's a handicap when you're not able to physically monitor and interact with your student, which might help shape or mold their mind better? What is your take towards something like this?
Well, like I said, we do have the monitoring aspect for those students that actually take part in joining the Facebook forum, the private forum through the school on Facebook. I do a lot of monitoring. They upload videos, I critique, it's back and forth. That some guys will say, hey, is my hand doing this right? What's how do I play this style more correctly? Whatever. So there is, like I said, some interaction going on. It's not like being in it right there with the
Uh-huh.
guys, where you can touch somebody's hand and say, no, do it this way. It can't,
Right.
obviously, but um, of course it's not, it's not perfect. I wouldn't call it a handicap so much, because it's it's a way of doing it. And as long as both teacher and student understand that this is, that a lot of it is on them, to, because like I said, the videos that we have produced are very thorough, really detailed. Um, they look good, they sound good, and they're done well so that you can really see what's going on if you're interested and you spend the time to look at it. And a lot of it, as like viewing something or studying something one time. I don't know about you, but for me, I got to go back and do it a few times and just to
Yeah.
catch details. So I think it's like anything else. I think those that are interested to spend the time, invest the time, studying and checking it out, and then trying to apply. And then, like I said, with our format, they can come into the school and into the forum and say, "Hey, am I doing this right?" And I can respond, to say yes, no, try this, don't do that, go listen to this, that type of thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You've done a great deal of work in the music industry, and you had a very distinguished career. Talking about mainstream music, you've made music for motion pictures. You have played for artists like Natalie Cole, Simon and Garfunkel, Robert Plant, and many more. Right. So I'd like to understand from you as to what were some of the dissatisfactions, incompleteness, or the inadequacies of this entire process, which kind of directed you towards an area like music education. I mean, it's a chicken and egg kind of a thing, right? So what preceded what?
Well, I mean, first of all, you're implying there was something negative somewhere,
Uh-huh.
which is not the case.
Okay.
For me, I never, especially these days, I'm just striving to find the positive in everything, and I don't want to know about negative. I have to turn it into a solution and
Correct.
try to stay positive with it. So, I mean, looking back on on all of my experiences in my career, it's like it's nothing but positive, and it's like I've been so blessed to be able to,
Okay.
be involved and play with all these people. Every experience, man, was just it was special in its own way, and it was, like I said, I'm so thankful for all of those times being able to play what little I did, especially in the rock and pop world when I was in New York in my early days, because from the mid '80s forward, I was always splitting my time anyway, even in high school and then through college, and with projects that I was working and building up my reputation or whatever, and playing, I was always splitting the difference between, pop, rock, funk, and jazz, so there was, I was trying, my goal really was to be as diverse as possible,
Right.
to be as versatile, and it's what I had always admired about, especially about Steve Gadd, was that, you'd hear him on a Joni Mitchell record, and then you turn around and hear him on a Chick record, so it's like there's all this diversity and the ability to adapt. So I was trying to follow in those footsteps, as it were, as far as being able to have that kind of reputation to do that and be called for those kind of things. And I was in the right place at the right time. It kind of happened that way,
Okay.
until I went on the road with Chick, and that was, of course, um, a decision um, that I'm still to this day happy that I made. Um,
I'm sure.
because I could have stayed in New York and tried to pursue the pop world,
Correct.
as it were, but my heart wasn't in it, and my gut said, so are you kidding? An opportunity to play with Chick? I didn't even think twice. So once I joined the Electric Band, and that happened with John Patitucci, we, that kind of pushed us into the international spotlight of recognition, and of course, all of our moments with Chick were just so special. So, but yeah, I sort of lost track of the question. I get off on my own
No, I
tangent
just
here,
wanted to
but yeah,
understand if there were any inadequacies, or was something incomplete, or was it a complete
right.
gratifying experience? Right.
Yeah, I think I pretty much answered it.
Correct.
Everything was totally gratifying and positive,
Marvelous.
and yeah, it was fantastic. All part of the process.
Lovely. Lovely. There's a phrase that is often used, which is called spiritual materialism, which implies that very often we look at spirituality in the spiritual traditions in a very utilitarian way, right? So, say if I were to do A and then I get an output B. So, have you been able to look at this particular interface and what is the output of a spiritual aspirant who is also a world class musician?
That's a tough one for me to answer, to be honest. I'm not a religious person, but
Uh-huh.
I consider myself, um, very spiritual in a lot of ways, um, and mostly, that has to do with, again, trying to be, a positive influence, a positive person in, according to the laws of the universe. The energy that we put out there. I've become very conscious of that. My wife, Clivia Tanisi, she's really into, like I said, the Indian culture, and she's really helping me to follow and and kind of be more in line with that path. So it's been my experience that putting the positive energy and the love forward, brings it back through music, through everything else. So that's all I can say about it. Really, is that that I used to be a lot more narrow-minded in that aspect. I used to be only really concerned with the playing thing and just the career and the touring and all that stuff. Um, there's more to it than that, and that is a spiritual thing for me that supports all of this music aspect. Um, but not only in family. I mean, it's also in with friends and just people in general. As a way of being. And I try to, again, tell students and friends, if like I said, it's I'm very sensitive to it now when somebody says something that suggests a negative connotation. My first response is that like when you said what you said, it was about the career and like what was not gratifying. It's like, no, man, it's like nothing was, so nothing was not gratifying. I look at the positive and don't even think about or remember the negative because it's not healthy, not desired. So that's how I kind of look at it. Positive, put it out there, get it back.
You did mention the word positive a couple of times during our conversation. I'd like to understand that as a musician, is the goal to maximize the number of blissful moments throughout your career?
Well, I mean, that's a nice uh, fantasy. Obviously, we can't go through life with everything being positive, and you know working out as we envision and perfect. That is the goal, of course. We want to try to make all of our experiences positive, both for ourselves and for other people in the process. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and something happens that smashes you down, and it's exactly the opposite of what you want it to be, and it's a negative, right? So it's how we react to that and what we do with it. Do we let it get us down and let it put us in a place that stops the positive forward motion? And that's easy to do, man. Don't get me wrong. It's like I'm not, I'm like anybody else. It's easy to go dark, man. You can in a second. Um, but I just, I've, like I said, especially especially lately, and with my wife now, with Clivia, she's very responsible for trying to help me keep and stay positive, and it's such a better existence. Um, so most certainly the goal you know is to make every experience positive and great. The question is, and the thing to figure out is, how can you make what role and what part can you play in that process of every interaction, every situation? What is your part that can make it special? Because you're in control of a lot of that. Because again, I mean, you get what you put out. So if you're putting out negative, if you're putting out, um, you know, as my wife likes to say, not nice behaviors, yeah, you get it back. So yeah, I think that's probably one of my biggest lessons in life. Because back in the early days, I wasn't thinking about that so much, and you know, so that's been a constant thing for me to try to change, and get better at. And it does turn experiences into better ones. So I think it's important, to understand that we as individuals are in control of a lot. Of, we're not in control of others, what they do, but we're in control of how we react and then what we do with it.
Right. We recently lost one of the most exemplary guitar virtuosos of all time, Jeff Beck. And you had worked with him as part of the Honey Drippers supergroup, featuring Robert Plant, Nile Rodgers, and Jeff Beck, some of these incredible musicians and contemporaries. So, could you elaborate a little bit about some interesting anecdotes of your time with Jeff Beck as part of this particular project?
I wish I could, man, because it was so spontaneous.
Okay.
It was one of those moments where it was in the early '80s, and I was doing quite a lot of work for the great Nile Rodgers at the time.
Marvelous.
Um, he just took a liking to me and was hiring me for a lot of stuff, and it was so great. He got me on a Peebo Bryson record, a Diana Ross record, a Benson record, I think, and he called me for this last minute impromptu session with Robert Plant. It was a Sunday. I'll never forget it. And I couldn't believe that Jeff Beck was there when I walked in. I was like, holy crap. Um, and we recorded a couple songs, and I think Rocket at Midnight, the shuffle was the one that certainly made it on the record. I think maybe one other tune, but they had two different recording groups. They had one in London and one in New York. Uh, so yeah, it was Jeff and Niall sitting there playing guitars together, and Paul Schaefer was on the session, and the late great Wayne Pedswater was playing bass.
Oh, okay.
And I unfortunately my I don't have a great memory about a lot of things, and that's unfortunate for me. But I do remember certain things that I just remember being not nervous about the session, but it was like, holy cow, man, I gotta put all of my jazz chops away right now and just and really concentrate on what's going on here with these legend musicians, even at that point in time. And Robert Plant, in most studios, even in my little one here, there's an airlock, between the studio and the control room. So Robert Plant was in the airlock looking through the window, and just saw this hair, and he was singing in the airlock. And those, I'm sure he probably redid the vocal, but the rest of the session was live. It was just boom, just hit it. And I do remember just being sort of in bliss, just like because Jeff played the solo at the end of the Honey Drippers, and it just kept going. I mean, they faded it on the record, but it was great. Unfortunately, that was the only time I got to spend time with him and play with him. Um, and like I said, I mean, I was young. I mean, I was 23, 24, something like that. And so I felt a little. I was just kind of happy to be there and be a fly on the wall. And I remember so
Sure.
many conversations and content about what was said during the times we weren't playing. But the playing was awesome. Really sad about Jeff leaving us.
Yeah.
I
Very,
know a
very
lot of people that
unfortunate.
knew him. Yeah.
I'd like to touch upon the aspect of performance. So, can you tell us the elements of mental preparation that you use while counting down to a live performance?
Uh, well, a couple things. I like to, again, I mean, this kind of ties into the whole positive thing. I like to try to make sure that I'm on good terms with myself and other people, family especially. There's nothing worse than being in a dark, argumentative time with a loved one and having to go on stage and play. That's super distracting. So I always try to keep all of the personal stuff on a level that's positive, so that the mental aspect is free. It's free to create at that moment. And for the most part, I've been pretty successful at doing that. But there's always were times when I wasn't, and so I still have to play, and so that shifts to the other side of pretty much shutting everything else out and just making sure that I'm ready, that I'm warmed up, that my body is ready, that you know everything that I'm in control of is ready. We did the sound check. Usually I'm there an hour before everybody else, making sure the drums are ready and the sound is ready, and then making sure that uh, diet wise that I treat my body well with what I'm putting into it, so that when it comes time to play, I don't have any negative distractions from my body rejecting something stupid that I put in there. And then then it comes down just to, like I said, the physical aspect after that, warming up, stretching, and of course, there's the preparation of the music. Um, people would ask sometimes, "Don't you get nervous?"
Yeah.
Nervous about what? What are you going to get nervous about? You got to get nervous. My hands will start to sweat. I've always noticed, and this hasn't happened that many times, but when I'm uncomfortable with the music, that's when I get, I suppose you could say the word nervous, but it's really anxious, and because I don't feel confident, and that's, to me, in my opinion, that's what sort of creates any kind of apprehension or nervousness or intimidation, is that you just don't feel comfortable with what you're about to play. And that happened to me. I remember one time specifically it happening when I was in Turkey,
Oh, okay.
and I was playing um, with some great musicians there, but the music was very difficult. Orhan Oz was the bouzouki player that was the leader, and
Right.
uh, and Oz Zeldin was playing keyboards. That's where we met, actually, and Kai Eckhart was playing bass. And the music was terribly complicated
Hmm.
for me, uh, and it was so complicated that there was one song that when they sent the music, they didn't send any note paper, any music charts. So I'm listening to this piece, and I thought it was in five.
Hmm.
And then when I asked for the music, because it was a little bit obscure. I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. It didn't feel right. I said, can you write out a chart? And he sends the chart, long story short, and it turns out that it's in 9/8. Don't ask me how I thought it was in 5, but it was, I was hearing it that way, trying to put it in halftime, and I was missing an eighth note. Anyway, I was so nervous about that tune because I really literally didn't have time to, when we talk about the intellect, the mathematical aspect just wasn't computing to me, and I managed to pull it off, but it was that was a palm sweating moment. Let's put it that way. So, when it's that, those are the moments that you want to try to overcome. When you're about to perform, because in that moment you're not going to change anything. That's what I tell students. It's like they're about to play. If I do a one-on-one, let's say, they're about to play, and they're like, "Oh God, I'm so nervous." And I'm like, "What are you nervous about? It's me and you. I'm just sitting here. At this moment, what you do is not going to be any different. You cannot change it. It is what it is. This is your preparation to this moment. Just play. Just close your eyes, take a breath, envision what you want to do, play." And that usually kind of halfway solves it, but you sort of have to understand that at the moment you're about to do something, you're not going to make it any different than what it is at that moment. You can't wish it to be better than it was or than you're able. So there's no sense of getting nervous about who's listening, who's in the audience. What, are you going to do it good? Are you going to do it bad? Just be concerned with what you're in control with, and do the best. Go into your zone in that moment and just do it. But like I said, all the prep stuff that I talked about for me is really important to make that moment comfortable with the least amount of distractions.
Nice. Interestingly, some musicians I've come across have been able to blend two completely different musical forms and create something that becomes a new classic of sorts, right? It has normally stayed with novelty, and it's only very rarely that two people have looked to say that you're trying to do a fusion between two different musical styles, and you create a vitality for a while, and then maybe it gets forgotten. So, what is your take in this kind of a scenario? How would you approach something like that?
Well, I mean, most of the music that I've made, with my own records and a lot with other people, has the label fusion.
Yes.
Fusion, the word itself, it describes what we do with that music. I mean, because it is the fusing together of different styles with no rules, basically. I mean, as semi composers, meaning that when I write with people,
Hmm.
we sort of sometimes it's spoken, but most of the time it's an unspoken rule of because we have similar ideas and background, culture. There's unspoken thing about aspects about let's say form, um, you know different just things that we don't have to talk about. That's because we're like, again, Western culture for the most part, is most of the most of my writing partners. We're used to symmetrical measures. We're used to ABA form, whatever. We're used to certain things. Not that it has to be that way all the time. I've certainly written things and played in odd time signatures, for example. Not that many, but um, we. I think to answer the question, I don't think anybody in the position um, to write something from the heart that is fusing different styles together. I'm not sure they really care if it's forgotten or not, because it's about a moment. You know what I mean? it's about a moment of um, in that space that you're creating.
Right.
Uh, it's there forever. It's there once you record it. It's there, but it's in that moment. It's again, it is what it is in that moment of your life. All everything's coming in that has built you to what you are at that moment, and it's nothing in the future can certainly uh, affect that. Right? It's past experiences and the present. So.
Correct.
But when you're composing and you're in that moment, you're in the present, and that's what it is. So, uh, I don't think it's a concern. It certainly isn't for me because number one, I don't want to be in a position to write something new and say, well, let's see, what did I do 10 years ago? Let me go. Is that relevant? Do I want? I don't ever hardly listen to anything that I did before. Once we do it, it's like, okay, that's the project. Let's do it. Maybe we'll go play the music live uh, occasionally, but that's it. It's kind of like next. It's next. So, um, yeah, it's a tough question because you're getting into the individualistic, artistic, creative moment in the present. So what you're talking about is past and future stuff that doesn't apply, in my opinion.
Right. Personally,
Yeah.
for me, I really loved your work on the album Convergence with Jay Oliver, who
Thank you.
also happens to be a very good friend of yours. The song
Yes.
Road to Connemara has been my all time favorite. I've been listening to it before the interview like 15, 20 times on repeat. Right? It's such an incredible song. So, could you
Thank
provide
you.
some insight into this particular group's collective music making approach?
Well, the whole convergence project was kind of a rekindling for Jay and I of putting another project together that we really hadn't done anything since my earlier days with GRP and Concord. And I think the last record that we did together was called Synergy,
Uh huh.
back with the band with Buzz Featon and Brandon Fields and Tom. And after that, we kind of went different directions and lived in different places, and yeah, so we got back together to do that project, and we spent a lot of time together writing and coming up with ideas. As far as that song that you're referring to, Road to Connemara, that was sort of Jay's baby. I mean, both of us were into the Irish aspect from the Riverdance um, influence.
Uh huh.
Bill Whalen, we went to see a lot of Riverdance shows, and we're in contact with Bill directly. And Jay, I mean, he's really brilliant at being able to create vibes from different genres and cultures, and he started writing this thing, and all of a sudden, he's like, man, I need this instrument, man, I got this, and dude, I'm going to Ireland. I was like, what? And he literally got on the plane and went and stayed with Bill and like in the whole thing over there,
Okay.
and recorded. He recorded the instrumentalists over there with all those the great instruments and the dancer, and it kind of our partner in the project, who's also my school partner, Steve Workin, is my
Oh,
marketing manager too.
yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the project that brought us all together, and we were just blowing out. We were like, holy cow, it's like this thing just morphed into a tune. So I was sort of along for the ride on that one. I may have made some suggestions, on form and such, but yeah, it was an incredible um, composition and story of him actually traveling over there to get all these recordings and be immersed in the culture, as it were. And yeah, it was pretty neat. We have a video out, DVD,
Oh, okay.
um, called "Flies on the Studio Wall," and it was the making of Convergence. So,
Got it.
um, that's available, I believe, through my website, and it's really a cool DVD because it gives a lot of insight as to how that record was made, and my daughter Claire makes an appearance singing the Cup song on that thing, and
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, so and I think there's quite a bit of footage about the road to Connemara from Ireland on that. So it was pretty cool. I had to give it up for Jay. He went to the extreme to get that song done. So yeah, but it was all layered. We did it like I said. I mean, I played. Let's see, how did it work? Because I had to lay down a demo track for Jay to take to Ireland to record everybody. And then, there's part of the cool thing about that tune is that the dancer
Yeah. Tap
and I
dance.
trade
Correct.
fours, right?
Correct.
We trade solos. So I think I had laid something down, and then he did his thing to it, and then I played. I may have saved one or two, but I think I played it again to record my part after everything was on there. So yeah, it was a huge project. It was we actually put it out way later than we had wanted to put it out because it was quite the undertaking. In fact, one of the most popular songs from that recording is "Higher Ground,"
Correct.
which Chris Coleman and I invited Chris to do a double drummer thing with that record, and Chrissy
Yeah.
Poland sang on it. And a lot of great musicians on that, and that's on YouTube, and
Yeah.
it's gotten quite a few hits. So that was another great arrangement production of Jay. Well, I mean, we mixed it together, but it was quite the undertaking, that project. So thanks for bringing it up.
I'll be sure to pick up the DVD because I've been looking out for the making of that particular song. And yeah, now that you've told me, I'll be uh,
Yeah,
the first one to
yeah,
pick it up from India.
it's really yeah. You might have to get it shipped from here, but we'll you can be in contact with Steve about that.
For sure. For sure.
I'm pretty sure it's available through my website too. Everything you want to know is on my website. I know
Yeah.
websites are kind of like a thing of the past. Everybody goes to Instagram and TikTok these days to get their information, but go to my website, daveweckl.com. Online school, all these products, play alongs, all kinds of stuff there.
Noted.
Tour schedules.
Got it. So, what remains for you now? You've achieved technical excellence to surrender to this bubble of sound from whatever you've said so far, and you tend to encase yourself in that bubble of sound. And you're working and have worked with some of the finest musicians from all over the world. So, what remains for you now in this musical pursuit?
Well, I mean, it's. I think the number one goal is staying healthy enough to be able to continue to do it at a level that I'm happy with. That's first. Without the health, we got nothing. So very
Rightly said.
conscious. Yeah, I'm very conscious, like I said, of what I put into my body. I completely stopped drinking alcohol back in October. It's like I I haven't eaten meat in a lot of years, so I'm a pescatarian, as it were, fish and vegetarian. Besides that, So I'm trying to be very conscious. You know, I've got some injury stuff that in the hands that it's not preventing me, yet from playing, but it's arthritic stuff that comes with the territory of age. Yeah, staying healthy is the number one key. But like I said, I'm um, this the building of this studio was really a goal for me to to enjoy. Like I said, I have some old drum sets and some recordings that I want to do. I can show you real quickly that that's one of my prized possessions is I have one of Buddy Rich's kits from the '70s that was
Oh
an extra
wow.
kit on the bus, and I also have an old 1953 Radio King kit. So those are set up over here.
Uh-huh.
You
Marvelous.
can see the Buddy kit in the forefront, and then the Radio King kit in the back there. And then I got my little bebop kit over here on that side of the studio.
Incredible.
So, so yeah, I mean, I have four kits set up at the moment that's very enjoyable just to go play and practice the vibe that I want. And of course, this kit here that is that I oops, I don't know how to turn around right. Anyway, this is my Fusion main recording kit that I do most of my recordings and. Um, so yeah, just the enjoyment of being able to create and play. I'm planning to do some solo recordings with these different drum sets, and like I said, I have my big band project. I got my small funk group project. Tom Kennedy and I are still out there all the time creating. He's been just writing his butt off. We have he's got a record out called Stories from the last couple of years that we've been touring, and we have another one coming out. He has another one coming out that I helped him produce and mix and play on, which is called A New Start, I think.
Okay.
And fantastic music. We're gonna be on tour in Europe actually in April into May. So check my website for that tour schedule. But besides that, I'm I've never been one to say, oh, I'm going to do this or oh, I'm going to do that, because the fun thing about the business is, again, these ideas come and it's like, oh, I want to do something with this person, and make it happen. So, like I said, at this point, the construction of this studio and the control rooms over there, which is a whole nother room. This place is huge. So I used to be in a garage space, so this is a luxury from a creative space standpoint. Um, but but yeah, we're right now. I'm dying to get back into creative mode. So I'm this close now to getting into it. So we'll see what happens.
Really, really looking forward to some new music very soon.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's coming. It's definitely coming for sure. Yeah, I think Tom Kennedy's release will be first. We're in the final mastering stages. Our mastering engineer is George Whitty, famous piano player, keyboard guy, producer that we've worked together on quite a few projects together. We mastered Convergence, as a matter of fact. So and he mastered Stories, and he's mastering this new one. So we're working together to get that finished. So be on the lookout for that. It's a great record. Features a lot of guys, a lot of people on there. So check that out. And like I said, down the road, there'll be some releases from my big band and from my small funk group. I'm going to get some stuff out on YouTube pretty quickly here with that. And besides that, it's a surprise. But yeah, I'm planning to create and make as much music as I can.
Right on, right on.
Where it's at.
We'd love to have like an exclusive album premiere in India, and I'd love to do an album review too. If
Excellent.
if you are
Excellent. Yeah.
putting
Well,
it out,
maybe
do
we
let me know.
can maybe we get on with Tom,
Sure,
at some
sure.
point, and
Yeah.
he can talk about his, the composing process. It's pretty remarkable. He's a super talented guy, man. Really incredible.
You
Great
have a very
compositions.
special connection with India. You visited India on multiple occasions. You worked with some incredible musicians from India that include the likes of Mohini De, Sandeep Chauta, and many more.
Yep, of
So, how has your
course.
experience been in India, and how have you developed certain affinity towards a particular Indian musical form? And I did hear a couple of interesting stories that you were very closely associated with Sandeep. And fun fact, Tony Das tells me that he shared a meal with you at Nama Bengaluru's Naga Arjuna.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sandeep has been a friend for quite a while, and he was very. We hung out quite a bit with my wife Clivia when we were there a couple of years ago in Bangalore, and we had a great time, and yeah. But before that, um, I was in India with Metro, and
Metro
that
Way,
was with the late great Chuck Loeb,
Chuck Loeb.
another incredible talent that left us way
Right.
too soon. And Melvin Davis and Mitch Foreman and Eric Marienthal. And Eric's touring with Tom and I, by the way, on this
Oh,
on this
okay.
upcoming tour. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, I'll never forget the meal. Um, it was incredible. We love Indian food, man. We really love it. Yeah, the meal was spectacular, and Sandeep was quite the host, and was quite
I'm sure.
quite the nice guy, and incredible musician. Man, he's got some amazing things out on his label and on all the stuff that he does. He's totally into the aspect of the positive realm of creation. So he's inspiring in that sense. But like I said, I never really got to spend a lot of time there uh, until I went back a couple of years ago and did a show there with Mohini was playing bass, and they're going to kill me. I'm not. You didn't prepare me. I didn't. I don't have these names on the tip of my tongue. But we did a nice concert there up north in Delhi, and then, like I said, Clivia, my wife, was with me, and we just took 2 weeks, and we kind of, we hired drivers, and we went to the Taj, then we flew down to Chennai, then we, like I said, then experienced the Ayurveda massage and all of it was great. I think my wife would move there if she had the opportunity. But, she loves it, and we love it. It's great. So we're looking forward to going back. I hope to do some more projects with some Indian musicians there again. So who knows what's on the horizon? We'll see.
I'd love to host you in India and show
Great.
you a lot more of India, and get you introduced to a couple of incredible Indian musicians in different parts of India.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. Well, I know my wife is probably watching shows, so expect a phone call from her
For
immediately,
sure, for sure.
and yeah, it'd be great to come back. That would be fantastic. That'd really be great.
In
Love
the
that.
interest of time, I'd like to come to the last part of our agenda, which is the rapid fire segment. And I'll be asking you 5 quick questions, very simple questions, nothing too complex. So, shall we get started?
Okay, we'll see if we keep this in the segment, but
All right,
go
all right.
ahead.
It's going to be fun for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
What is that one song that always makes you cry?
Oh man, see now. Oh boy, my wife's probably laughing. Mm. See, I'm not good at these things, because when you talk about like one thing or the best or the better, it's like I can't do it because I will say this: any song that is a ballad
Uh huh.
that I hear Michael Brecker play,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
forget about it. I'm sorry. That's one of the
That's fine.
tunes
That's completely
that
okay.
Steps did that was like, oh man, just hearing Michael play and the thought of him being gone too soon too. That'll do it.
Got it. What's your favorite cuisine?
Italian.
How about Indian?
You said favorite, right? I'm married to an Italian, man. Sorry. No. It's Indian is great, and that's what I mean. But my experience and what I honestly enjoy the most is Italian. The whole culture of eating and food and just the coffee, man. It's like I bring Italian coffee home. So it's so I'm sorry. I love Indian, but Italian.
Italian. Great. If you could describe your experience being on this interview in one sentence, what might that be?
I'll give you one word: enjoyable. Very enjoyable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Means a lot coming from you.
Absolutely.
I have one last question, which is a custom in all of my interviews. And I ask all of my distinguished guests this very question. So, Dave, here's the question. Down in the distant horizon, what would you want to be remembered as?
Positive. Player, person, positive. That's what I'd want to be remembered.
Brilliant. Brilliant. This interview will be additionally aired on two major radio stations, Big FM Shillong and Aizawl, on their Sunday primetime show between 5 to 6 p.m. And it'll be very soon out on YouTube in an audio video format and across all major audio streaming platforms. I'll be sure to share these links with you. You can feel free to share it with your fans, friends, and family. It's been an
Awesome.
incredible privilege, blessing, and an honor. So thank you so much for being part of this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful. And hello, and thank you to all the fans out there, and much love and positive support. Go create, have fun, make music, and stay healthy.
Thank you once again. Take care.
Thank you.
And please do stay
Thank
in
you
touch.
very much.
Bye-bye.
Sounds good. I look forward to coming back to India.
Yeah. I'd be happy
Okay,
to
man.
host you too. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Terrific. Ciao. Bye-bye.